For lesson 3, we're going to be talking about using shapes in Illustrator. So we are going to be going over just how to work with some of the different shapes and how to do some manipulations to them using the Pathfinder tool. So we are going to be creating a new doc from scratch, so you do not need to download anything from the module. What we're going to do is we're going to create a card today. So you're going to go up to File and New. And again, we're going to name this last name underscore, and this is lesson 3. We want to set the width to 5 and the height to 7. And we're going to have 2 artboards on this one today. We're going to create the outside of the card and the inside of the card. And you're going to hit create. So you should be able to see both of these back to back. If you want to see them both while you're working on them, you can leave it like this. If you want to focus on just the front of the card, you can choose to focus on just the front of the card, or do Control-0 and it'll put the full card in the view into the center of your screen. Okay, so we're going to create a card for National Panda Day, which is March 16th. So we're going to actually create the panda together, and then on your own, you're going to create the background for the panda. We're also going to talk about putting the text in the inside of the card for National Panda Day. So let's start off by drawing the panda. So the first thing you're going to do is grab your ellipse tool, and you're going to create a circle. So remember to hold and press Shift and create a circle. And then we're going to kind of drag it over here. So again, size is not super important because you can always change the size when we're done. I'm going to make it big enough that you can see it on my screen. And we're going to change the color of it to a nice dark brown. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the second brown that's right here, because we're going to use the darker one to have some shadows. So I'm going to do this one right here. Okay. Now, also, I'm going to turn off the stroke right here, and I'm going to turn it off so I can now see this nice circle. Now, we need to create his legs. What we're going to have is a panda that's kind of doing a headstand, so we're going to have his head looking through his back legs. So we need to create the leg shape right here. The easiest way to do this is to use the Pathfinder tool. So we're going to grab our ellipse tool again, but this time change it to some bright color that you can see. It doesn't really matter what the color is. It's not going to stay, but we're going to use it to clip out the shape. So I'm going to have you create an oval kind of like this, and you're going to center it up and move it down a little bit. We don't want it to be too high up because we don't want his legs to take up too much of his body. And it just needs to kind of fill in that area like this. Okay, so when you're using the Pathfinder tool, you can do multiple things with this. You can take out areas, you can combine areas, you can do all these different things. So you have to choose what is the most important piece for this one to be able to remove it. So we have my red oval, whatever color yours is, we have it selected, and we're going to go to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke. It's just going to tell me that that's the more important piece. And now when I draw over it, that is still the most important piece. You can't really tell it, but it is, I promise. That's going to stand out. Now, when you do that, your Pathfinder should open over here in your properties. You can see right here, Pathfinder. If not, you can go to Window and Pathfinder right here and open up a new panel. Okay, so the 4 different options you have right here is you have one that turns 2 shapes into one compound shape. So if we needed the shape to be the circle with this little bump coming out of the bottom of it, we would use that one. The second one is going to be the one we'll end up using, which is minus front. What it's going to do is it's going to take away this front shape and leave the back shape without that shape in it. The third one is going to be to intersect. So I always use the Venn diagram would be the area that would stay. The 2 outside would go away. So for this example, it would get rid of this part of the red oval, but it would leave this one and it would leave the brown here. And then the third one is going to be exclude. So I said that backwards. So the last one, the intersect, would leave this area and get rid of these, where the last one on here, which is exclude, would get rid of this little section right here. So we want to get rid of the entire red oval. So we're going to hit this one right there. Okay. Now you can see you have this shape that has these little points on it, and this is going to end up being his back legs. So we're going to use our direct selection tool to be able to kind of turn those into paws instead of like daggers, which they are now. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see mine a little bit better. And I'm going to grab my direct selection tool, and you can see now we have an anchor point here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this direct selection tool right here, and we're going to click on this anchor, and these handlebars come up. So with this handlebar, you can pull them down, make adjustments to it, curve that out. You can also grab this convert right here, which is going to convert it to a round, and it would just make the shape for you. So it's let me show you how to do it the other way as well, and you can pick which one you want to do. So if we do the handles, you can simply pull it, and then there's another handle right here that you can pull, and you can kind of twist them and shape them out, and then you can use that convert and kind of create it that way. Or if you liked the way the convert tool made it look in the first place, you can just select it and come up here to convert, and we're going to convert to a smooth and do the same thing on the other side, convert to a smooth. Now, by doing it that way, it's going to kind of maintain the same shape on both sides. You don't have to kind of guesstimate and get it to where you want it. And you can even do it right here and click on this one and do, you can soften those out a little bit so you don't have as much of an angle if you want, or you can just convert them there and convert this one here, and it's just going to make it a smoother curve. Okay, now that we have his feet, we need to give him a tail. So we're going to come up here to the top. We're going to use our ellipse tool again, same color, and we're going to press and hold shift, and we're going to draw a little circle, and you can move it to the middle of his bottom. So I'm going to do Control-0 so I can see the entire screen again. And now we have his backside kind of showing for us. Now, I'm going to come over here to my layers panel and open it up, and I'm going to name this one bottom. Okay, just so that I know this is what this is. And I'm going to actually lock that layer. That way I'm not putting other things in it by accident. If you leave it unlocked, that's fine. Just make sure you're on the correct layer when you're adding to this. Then I'm going to click on the Create New Layer, the square with the plus sign in it, and we're going to work on building his head. So I'm going to name this one Head. Select it. Okay. So now we're going to create a head, and we're going to use that ellipse tool. And again, press and hold shift and create a circle for his head. And I'm going to kind of center this one, put it right down here so it looks like he's looking through. Now, the color of it is the same, so I want to change it. I'm going to change it to a lighter tan. And I'm going to use this color right here. And then I'm going to move this head to be behind the bottom layer. That way it looks like he's peeking through. Okay, the next step is going to be to make him an eye. So we're going to do each eye individually, and then we'll add them to the head and duplicate them. So you're going to ellipse tool again. This time you want to have it in black. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to black. And I'm going to draw a little eye. And for the purpose of you seeing this better, I'm going to zoom in on mine a little bit. If you want to zoom in, feel free. And then on top of that black eye, I'm going to draw a little white dot so that it looks like he has a highlight in his eye. And if you can't get it to move exactly where you want it, you can always use the up, down, and side to side arrows. Okay, so now I'm going to select this. I'm going to select the whole thing by using the selection tool and drawing over the top of it. And I'm going to move it to where I would have him peeking out. Now, while I have it selected, I'm going to press and hold, I'm going to click on it and press and hold the Alt key and the Shift key, and I'm going to drag it to the right. That way I maintain where it's at. So now your bear has two little eyes. You're going to do the same steps, change it to black, grab your ellipse tool, and you're going to draw him a nose. And again, put a little highlight over it with a white oval. And then select the whole thing and move it into place. Okay, for the next step, what we want to do is we want to create an eye patch to go around his eyes since he is a panda. And so we're going to draw an oval over his eye. Now, for me, it's easier to go ahead and draw it whatever color I'm in and then move it behind the eyeball. So it's going to be this top one right here in your layers, and move it down here below the eyeballs. And if you need to make it bigger or smaller, you can. You can also change the color of it. I'm going to change it to a darker brown. Then we're going to adjust the shape a little bit to make it more patchy. So what I want you to do is grab your direct selection tool. And just like we did on the last lesson, direct selection tool is the white arrow. Just like we did on the last lesson, we're going to click on the side anchor points and kind of push them like you did for your carrot. You can also click on the bottom one and kind of pull it. Okay, so get it to the shape that you like it for a patch. You can also move these handles around a little bit to like flatten out the circle or to create a better shape if you need to. So you're going to get the patch the way you want it. Then you're going to go back to your selection tool. Make sure it's still selected, just the patch. And we're going to make a copy of it, and we're going to do a reflection of it. So with it selected, you're going to come over here to your reflect tool. Remember that if it's underneath your rotate tool and it looks like two little arrows pointing at each other, you're going to double click on it. Whoops. I don't know why mine is doing that. Let me reselect it and do it again. Okay, so for some reason it wasn't liking my selection. So all I did was I just deselected it, reselected it, and grabbed my reflect tool and double clicked on it. The reflect panel is going to pop up. We want to do a vertical reflection, not a horizontal one, because we want it to flip so that it goes on this eye. And you'll see in the preview, it just automatically flips the one that we have, but we want to make a copy of it instead of taking the one we already have. So hit copy. And then you can grab your selection tool, press and hold shift, and drag it over. Okay, so now you should have a patch around both eyes. Okay, we want to create two ears for him. So we're going to grab your ellipse tool again. And you're going to create a circle. And kind of pull it over to where you want it. Now the problem is right now it's in front of his head. So again, you have to drag it on your layers panel down and put it behind down here. Okay, so that it's behind his head. So it just kind of peeks out. And we're going to move it to the other side as well. So you're going to click on it, press and hold Alt and Shift, and drag it to the other side and make him an ear. Now we want to give him two paws so that it looks like he's doing a headstand. So I'm going to zoom out so I can see it a little bit better. And I want you to draw a shape that kind of looks like a crooked teardrop. And you're going to use your pencil tool and just kind of draw a shape that looks like this. And we're going to fill it with the darker brown. So use your eyedropper and click on his ear or his patch. It makes it a little bit darker. And we're going to move it up just like this and put it in place. With it being on your head layer, it's going to be behind the body, so you're going to be just fine with that. And again, we're going to do the reflect tool, double click on it. We want to flip it vertically, and we want to make a copy. And then you'll grab your selection tool, click on it, press and hold Alt and Shift and drag it. Or just Shift, sorry, you don't need to press Alt. Just press Shift, hold it, and drag it to the right. So now it looks like he's doing a headstand. And I'm going to Control Out. And there he is. So I can shrink this back up. And I can unlock the body. And there he is. Now, with them both being unlocked, if I selected the whole thing, I can select them, I can move them, I can transform them, I can change the size and everything. So you can get them to where you want them to be on the card itself. Now we're going to do the inside of the card as well together. So we're going to just kind of touch on the type tools again. This wasn't part of this lesson in the book, but just to make it a little bit more interesting, I thought we would go ahead and do it on a path. So I want you to grab your arc tool, and we're going to click right here, and we're going to hit, we're going to click and drag. I forgot, with the arc tool, you just drag it. And I want you to drag it up and put it right here in the middle. And then we're going to do the same thing. Whoops. We're going to change our stroke color to black for right now, just so we can see the stroke. And then you'll grab it and do it a little bit further down. And create another arc. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to type in Happy Panda Day on these. And the whole reason I had you do it this way just is to practice typing on a path. So you're going to grab this text tool that's type on a path. And you're going to click at the very end of it. And we're going to type in the word happy. And use your selection tool and select it all. And now you can change the size of it. We can also do this right here under paragraph and center it. You can feel free to change your fonts. You can even change the font color if you'd like. We typed in happy. And then on the next one, we're going to use that type on a path tool again at the very end. And we're going to type Panda Day. And I'll give it an exclamation point. Now, if you type too many letters, and I'm just going to go ahead and type a little extra on here, you're going to see this little plus sign come right here. What this means is that your text does not all fit on that line. And you can either resize your font, you can pick a different font, or you can just change size, whatever you need to do to get it to fit on there better. So we're going to have this, and we're going to move them around as we want. If you want to twist them a little bit, you can. Remember to move your cursor to right outside your bounding box anchor point, and you can twist it a little bit to get it fit a little bit better if you want. And you can change the color of it, do whatever you want to your font. Okay, and then with it selected, you can change your color simply by changing the fill color. So right now it's on this one, our fill color is actually our outline on this font, the specific font. So you could change it to, you know, a bright green or a pink or whatever you want to do it to. I'll change mine to pink just to make it pop a little bit more. Okay, so for your next step is we're going to open up these layers and we're going to delete both, or we're not delete, we're going to lock both of these and we're going to create a new layer and we're going to drag that layer all the way down to the bottom and we're going to call it background. Now you can make the background, you can make your panda bear anywhere you want to make your panda bear. He can live anywhere you want. I went ahead and made one before class just so that I could copy something in and kind of show you. So what I did was I drew a big blue rectangle just like we did in lesson 2. I drew a green rectangle over the top of it and then I drew a whole bunch of bamboo. Now all this stuff that's sticking out, that's completely fine. If we were to actually print this, none of that would show. I'm going to show you how to create a mask in a later lesson so that you can fix that. But for right now, it's completely fine like this. And all I'm going to do is select over all of it and Control C. And while I'm in my background layer, Control V, and it comes over and I can line it up with the edge of my card. And now my panda lives somewhere. So I want you just to finish decorating your card. You can make them live wherever you want to make them live. You can use the shape tool. You can use the pencil tool and just kind of make adjustments and kind of play with this and learn your shape tools. Then when you are done, you're going to go to File and you're going to do Save As. You're going to save it as your Illustrator file like we always do and hit Save. Defaults, okay. And then you're also going to save it as a PDF. So File, Save As, and change this to a PDF and save it. That is the file you'll submit to me for your points for this lesson. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email.